Hello and welcome to Discovering Grayslake, unveiling the stories and people that make our town so unique. I'm your host, David Wool, and I'm thrilled to bring you this new podcast that explores fascinating stories and experiences of local business owners and community leaders, right here where we call home. Grayslake Rehabilitation Center is a community-based private practice physical therapy provider. Do you know they have 13 clinical providers with various levels of specialties, including orthopedics, sports, neurology, vestibular, geriatrics, pelvic floor, and aquatic? What? Did I just say they have a pool? Well, they do, and it's the largest indoor warm water pool in Lake County, featuring 2 underwater treadmills and swim currents. And recently added clinical treatment specialties, in layman's terms, shockwave. They have both radial and focus units that are the newest tool in regenerative medicine, available to everyone. They pride themselves on the most current and up-to-date specialized care to keep you moving. If you're looking for physical therapy, make sure to see our friends at Grayslake Rehabilitation. So John and I took a little break. We started talking about America.
So, and maybe we shouldn't go
We're
that way.
we're not talking politics. We're talking almost anti-politics.
Yeah, it's just America, get back to being America. And we're always concerned about what everybody's spending. Like, how much money have we spent on this frickin', like, against one party or the other, and who's going to jail, who's in fraud? Like, because this is taxpayer money. Like, why are we doing this stuff? Back in the day, Roosevelt, or I don't remember which one it was, FDR, he basically came out and he basically said, well, your Congress tried to spend $43,000 this week on, testing monkey shit for rabies. And so he goes, I vetoed this because I didn't feel like this is a necessity that we needed to know about for our country. Like, why do we need to know, like, it should be put out on paper, like, how much money are we wastefully spending on crap like this that's not going to people that we can help our own in this country about feeding them or, taking care of poverty and all that other shit. I mean, how many people could we have taken care of?
Right, all the
billions.
important things.
And it's just like, why are we not doing the right things?
Right. And we started this conversation about how we both don't watch the news. Because
I watch Netflix and podcasts, and if you're a person that's going to talk all this other stuff, I don't really care what everybody's agenda is. Like, I'll listen, It's just like, I see everybody's point. America is a melting pot, and that's what I am. My nationality is. And I don't care. I have everything in my family, and it's just like, I don't really care what your viewpoint is. It's just that the 3 things I don't talk about in my office is religion, politics, and COVID. Because we're never going to agree on this stuff, and it splits families apart and stuff like that, and
splits everybody apart.
Yeah, small town values.
Well, and not everybody grew up where we grew up too.
Yeah.
So
everybody helps each other, And
you accept each other for what they are.
And I believe in dirty hands, clean money, brother.
Dirty hands and clean money.
That's right.
All right. I think that's what we're going to call this episode Dirty Hands and Clean Money.
Dirty hands and clean money.
Except for when he's touching you all the time.
Yeah, they're
all
clean
right.
then.
So I want to get a couple fun things. This is going to be our longest episode ever. So just whatever. So I need to cut.
But I'm having a fun time.
I'm having a great
I dreamt about this. When have you and I ever really sat down and talked this much?
No. And now it's documented.
It might be part 2, ladies and gentlemen, of the debacle as it's starting to come.
The debauchery.
We're 2 drinks in, and here we go.
Right, on drink 10, it'll be episode 2.
I just need to know how many times have I swore. I don't think I did. Maybe once or twice.
No, you said fuck once.
Okay.
And I might have said it.
I just want to try to...
Yeah, well, no one's going to listen.
I never have a clean image anyways, so they knew I was racy anyway, so I just want to make sure.
If anybody ever met you, they would not be surprised that you would drop an F-bomb.
Okay.
I think we're fine. And if not, my sponsors are going to fire me, and then
because it was
then Premier Chiropractic. This episode is brought to you by Premier Chiropractic.
Okay.
So there's a rumor. Now this isn't even a rumor.
Oh, no.
I've heard this firsthand. If you're this far into the episode, then I appreciate you being here. But we all know this is true, and I can't wait to see the look at it. But you already know this is going to happen, and your wife knows as well.
How does my wife know?
Just let me talk.
All right.
Just let me talk. So
I've heard people say, and actually women say, that they actually come to Dr. Bouma, because they're referring to you as Dr. Bouma, because John's hot, and they just come in and their husband's yelling that there's nothing wrong with their back, that they just want to come get cracked by you.
Well, I don't ever adjust anybody unless there's something wrong. Number one.
Oh, there's something wrong.
And number two is that I am the most humble person that's out there, and I am just like every other male that they've ever met. I don't pick up my underwear. I procrastinate on shit. My wife yells at me, so I just tell her, I'm like, hey, you want to take a shot at it? Go for it. Because she's like, he's not all that frickin' that. I've got all these girls in my office that will pop my head anytime that, and my wife, she's like, dink, dink. Like, so, yeah, I don't, whatever.
But I just wanted to...
anything that I've got from my parents, and it does not hurt.
No,
Let's just put it that way.
It doesn't hurt. Okay, so on a serious note, too, that I know that you are a big believer in, like, holistic medicine, that, like...
There's a train.
Another train horn. No train horns, but that's 3 since we've been sitting here. That I know that people come to you that have illnesses or things, and I know you're a firm believer, like you don't believe in all the vaccinations and all the medicines and all that a lot can be cured
a lot can be cured, and it's not by chiropractic.
Okay.
So the body has the innate ability to heal itself, and it's been doing that. You think about medicine, modern medicine, what's it been around for, 125 years? How did people survive for 1 million years before this without all this stuff? So most of the stuff that... This is going to get controversial. No,
I'm not. I was going to say I didn't bring it up to be controversial.
There are some chiropractors that are basically going to tell you that they can, it will prevent cancer and all this other stuff. The way that the immune system works and the neurology works of the body is that if you keep it running without dysfunction, it will run as optimum, and so that helps work with your immune system and your body to fire at the best that it possibly can to add resistance and whatnot. That doesn't answer the question of like why babies have cancer, and they've never been exposed to really anything, and different stuff like that. So there's no answers for that type of stuff, but I just believe that I know that this stuff does help, and whatever you want to do, it's your choice. I just tell them to try it. I've lived it my whole entire life, and my kids have lived it since they were 2 hours old. They've gotten adjusted, and my wife says, "Why are they only sick for a couple of days, and I'm sick for like 10 days?" I'm like, because they got adjusted at 2 hours old, and you got adjusted at 21 for your first time. Right. So.
I think one of my, I think it's Max, my oldest, my 19-year-old.
He had earaches.
Yeah, he had what?
Wasn't he coming in for earaches?
He was coming in for earaches, but way even before that, I remember bringing Max into you, and I think you held him upside down.
Yes. And
you could tell that you adjusted him at a very young age.
A child, they say 6 months, but I see that it's at 4 months. A baby, an infant or newborn's body runs off of this primitive nervous system, like the suckling response. A woman rubs their finger on their cheek or their nipple on their cheek, and they'll turn to the side of feeding. The Babinski side, which is why your doctor runs the number 7 on the bottom of the feet and the toes curl. I don't know really necessarily why that works or not, but right. There is other things when the baby comes out of the womb. What happens is that the doctor, this is if they have a vaginal birth, the doctor will take one arm and one leg, if you remember any of your kids get born, yep. And they'll flex them and put the knee to the elbow. Well, the other 2 extremities will extend all the way out. And so the head is part of that whole mechanism, but when the baby's laying on the table, the head doesn't move. So what we do is we hang the child upside down, and we hold them by their ankles, and we transfer the weight to one leg. We're holding on to both legs. We're not dangling there. you transfer, you extend the leg and flex the other leg, and the head will turn completely the opposite direction of the extended leg. And then that's a normal response. And then you do it to the other leg, it should turn the completely full end range of motion to the other way. Well, the reason for, if it does that, the child's fine, has no blockage. And then we'll check the sacrum and make sure that everything's there. But what happens, because those are the two areas that control the autonomic nervous system, the upper cervical and then the pelvic region. But the reason is that if the head does not turn completely to the other side when the leg is extended, what happens, it means that there's something blocked there. Later on, through the chain of development, that becomes then the cross-crawl pattern. When the arm is extended, the head is turning as the legs are moving, and that forms cross-crawl. That also forms hand-eye coordination. And that's when the two hemispheres of the brain that are not united, they send neurons to either side when they start doing cross-crawl. So the right side controls the left side of the body and stuff like that. But that then becomes all their gross motor movements. The whole reason for this whole primitive reflex that only lasts 4 months is that it's a protection. And the protection model of it is that if the head was ever to turn, let's just say their head turns to the right, the left arm would stick out extended right and the right knee would bend to prevent them from rolling off. It's an equilibrium protection. Just like kids, when they put them on a ball and you roll them forward, their thought process or what their body's reaction should be to stick their hands out to protect their head. And so all these things are primitive reflexes that you want to check as an infant when they come in to see what's happening. And so there could be delays if those things aren't met, but also too these kids that I've seen kids with colic. I mean, parents are the kids are coming in, they're screaming, like literally the kid is 2 weeks old and the kid screams 23 hours out of the day. The most high-pitched scream you've ever heard in your life. Like I was in a room last year with this baby that came in, and this kid was screaming to bloody murder. And the woman, I was in that room for 3 minutes, and I did my thing with that baby with using a little activator. And we all think about our babies as being so fragile, and they are, but we use an instrument to adjust them. We're not using sledgehammers like we do for adults, or we don't use sledgehammers, but I'm saying we're not doing full-size adjustments, what you think of and what you see on YouTube. Right. We use an instrument to make these adjustments, and this little baby had this crazy reaction. Every time I did this little tap on its back, it would do this gigantic jerking on they're flexing their head back on their spine. And the baby went home that day, and the parents came back the next day, and they said that the kids slept all day long. And so then we adjusted that baby the second day, and there was no reaction. And so it was their spine was so irritated that it controls their organs, like their stomach and upper intestines and stuff like that, was so on fire that that kid had that reaction. The lady in the next room on that first visit, I walked out of that room and I was on high alert, my body was sweating, my sympathetic system was just going crazy. I'm man, I was you'd want to get out of that room as fast as you could. And that lady in the other room, she was bawling. And so she's like, I wanted to come in there and rip that kid out of your hands. And I touched that kid for 30 seconds. Wow. That kid was just screaming with the mother holding him, and just because that's what the parents have been like for 2 weeks straight.
Can you imagine how they felt?
They were frazzled. And the 2 adjustments, that kid was never had another issue again.
We're taking a quick break just to say hello, because everybody knows Nano, and Nano knows real estate. And actually, I believe that's the name of her Instagram page. So if you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, or know somebody in the market for a home, contact Nano from Baird & Warner. She's a Grayslake girl helping out Grayslake people.
That's unbelievable.
But it's so stuff like that, or kids with earaches, it makes a big difference, because you don't have to put them on an antibiotic. And do you need to sometimes? Yeah, you got to do it. Right. And I'm not one of these chiropractors that are just going to tell you, don't do this, because I'm not the one sleep at night in pain, or your kid's not sleeping all night long. Do what you got to do. You're a parent. You got to get sleep. You got to do what's best for your kid.
Absolutely.
So, and Where some chiropractors are sitting there going to say like, oh, we could treat cancer and all this bullshit. You can.
So besides that,
that's swear number 2.
That's right.
But that's real.
That's not. Yeah, but no, that's no, it's a great story. One of my questions that I had written down for you before we got into the nonsense version. Tell me one of your personal favorite like success stories of people that have come into you, because I'm sure you see a lot of different things, but do you have like a big one that you're like, wow, okay, go home feeling really good?
Well, anytime you treat a baby and you get that type of response is a big deal, just because we're treating people right there for why you're treating the body, and as adults, like parents will bring in their kids to take care of a kid because the physiology is just wrong. And that's what chiropractic was built on. And that's how it all started. Adults come into me because they got pain. And that's the easiest thing to take care of, but it's the less gratifying. Right. And it's just because you should have been taking care of this a long time ago, but we sit there and ignore it. And so when you see something that's that huge, and it makes that big of a difference for that child and how they were suffering, or earaches or whatever, I think that's probably I don't have number 1. Yeah. That's the most rewarding thing.
Yeah. But that's important for people to know, that maybe they don't know if your kid has chronic ear things going on. Like, it's a good reason to come in to try something other than keeping them on antibiotics 8 times a year. Yeah.
And that doesn't win when they want to do a surgery. And just read my website. I've written a ton of articles on stuff and my viewpoint on stuff, and so that would be the best place to go to.
Cool. So tell me this though, saying that, what do you think, especially with like adults, or maybe somebody sitting home right now that's got like a certain kind of pain that they wouldn't associate with, I need to go to a chiropractor for this?
Most people won't go until it's their last episode. So many people come in and like,
I've come to you when I couldn't walk. I come to you when I couldn't walk.
You're my last-ditch effort. And I'm like, well, good. I like being that last-ditch person, because I'm the person that's going to help you.
Right.
And sometimes if you don't like me, that's, I'm sorry. And I tell people, I'm like, here's what you have. I'm like, I'll write stuff down on the card. And I was like, if you don't like me, or if you don't like the way I adjust, you got to let me know. I'm like, I'll switch up the technique. But if you just don't like me or whatever, I'm like, here you go. You can take it to somebody else.
Right.
Like, they'll know what to do with you. But
so you don't get any like 50-year-old men coming in with lower back pain?
Oh, that's every day.
Right. I mean, like that's probably your most common things where people let things go way too long.
Yes.
And probably like, well, it's funny that I used to see you all the time, but I've lost 40 pounds.
Dave looks amazing. I know you can't see this through this podcast, but
you can hear it.
He is so sexy looking right now. He's slim, he's trim. I was very impressed when I saw him 2 weeks ago, and I was very shocked. I don't think I've ever looked that good, buddy.
You know what? I would claim that at 51 years old, I'm probably in the best shape of my life.
I've seen you at some of your worst.
Yeah.
But I can tell you this is some of your best right now.
Thank you. And you know what the funny thing is when's the last time I came to get adjusted?
Well, you know what? You should
probably when I was a fat ass.
Well, you should have said that, because that's the kiss of death right there.
Right. No, but it's funny, but how well people take care of themselves is a direct, like, you're carrying around 50 more pounds than you're supposed to.
Right.
And walking around and not exercising, or your health is bad, you're obviously not going to feel good.
And that's why when a chiropractor tells you he's going to do X, Y, and Z, he's going to reverse all this stuff, what you do in that 5 minutes takes no precedence over what that person should be doing on their own for self-help.
Absolutely. And that goes for everything. We talked to Dr. Mudd a couple of weeks back just about mental health, and about how people take care of themselves, and about things you have to do yourself. I mean, you can only be helped so much by you, but if they don't...
Haven't you ever just said to yourself, like if I know you're an athlete, right?
Well, I don't know. I'd call myself an athlete right now.
Were?
Actually, well, maybe more.
Do you have an athletic mentality?
Absolutely.
Okay. Then I remember I've said this to myself at some dark times in my life or whatever, like doing different stuff. And I'm like, get up off your ass. Like, when was the last time you ever laid down here and took it? You know? And so that's my attitude with type of stuff, is just like, get up. You'd never lay around for nothing. You know, You're not sorry for yourself. Nobody's going to give you, pity or anything like that. That only you can take care of you.
Right.
So that's
like when I don't want to get out of bed, and then I have to go walk 4 miles in the morning when I should. I want to be in bed, but I got to get up and go
I'm still gonna
walk.
sleep on those days. You're gonna I feel
That's
sleep is
you're
more
in good shape.
sleep. No, I'm not.
Oh my god.
So sleep is more important. It's more healing, but
Right. It depends how long you sleep, though.
Yeah. I like helping out high school athletes.
And I've heard
youth
that.
athletes.
Okay.
And so I think it's a great way for parents to understand that there's something that you can do that's very low cost that will benefit these kids far beyond having to let them sit out or take a bunch of time off when they really need something that like chiropractic that's going to get them back into the game a lot faster. So
like what kind of things are those? Like what kind of athletes come to see you?
Football, track, a lot of cheerleaders, dancers, soccer, wrestlers, every high school sport that's out there. I see them. And then, I get kids that come back from college that want to see me because different athletics and stuff. I am going to promote one thing.
All right. Promote it.
I have to do it.
Go ahead. You have my blessing.
I had this. I've got a lot of amazing patients, and they're youth athletes that were out there and doing different things. But I've had 2 amazing athletes that were local kids that were here. One of my athletes, her name is Corbin Albert, and in 8th, she traveled all over the country. She should have graduated high school in 2022. We had COVID, but she would travel all over the country doing and her daughter. Not her daughter, but her sister is Tegan, and she was a phenomenal gymnast. And then she had to become a diver because she hurt her back. And she was an amazing diver. She dived in college, and now she's back playing soccer again. Her family's all been soccer players. Well, Corbin is also a kid. She played soccer her whole entire life, and she was on Olympic development teams and stuff like that. And I took care of her ever since she was a little kid. And in 8th grade, Notre Dame told her that she was going to that they would give her a full ride when she was ready to go to school. And so COVID started, so she was, she would have graduated in 2022. She was ranked 11th in the country in 2021 as a midfielder. She was already going to Barrington Day schools because she was traveling all over the country playing for these different teams and stuff. So she called Notre Dame. She told them, and she goes, I want to forgo my senior year, and I'm going to come early. And so they said, we'll take you. And she kept her number 11th seed in the best in the country.
Wow.
So she ended up going to Notre Dame. She was the lead all-time scorer. You won't see that on stats because all penalty kicks go to seniors. So she was
all the PKs go to seniors?
Mm-hmm. And so she was lead scorer. She was ACC, all rookie team, stuff like that. So she left after her freshman years, came home, and she goes, hey, I need to see you. And I said, okay. So she came in, and she goes, I'm supposed to be in Costa Rica tomorrow to go play for the U20 Women's World Cup team. And she goes, Notre Dame screwed me, told me that I had a stress fracture in my foot, and they won't let me play. Can you look at it? So we looked at it, because I do a lot of extremity work and stuff. She had a couple of dropped metatarsal heads, which are just the bones in your foot before you get to your toes that drop down. And she's basically walking on the bone of her foot. And I'm like, so are you in pain all the time? She goes, no, I'm only in pain every so often, and now it's starting to go to the other foot. And I said, well, they told her that she had a stress fracture in her foot. And so that's what U.S. Soccer heard. And so I'm like, you don't have a stress fracture. So we took x-rays, did vibration conduction tests on it and stuff. And I'm like, you got 2 dropped metatarsal heads. And we popped them back in place, and I had to write a letter to U.S. Soccer, and she went and played.
The next day?
Yep. She left for Costa Rica, and she played, and she scored against France in this whole thing.
It's awesome.
So she calls me, and she says, well, I'm going to go back. So when she went away, she was 17. She went to Notre Dame. She was having a rough time because her first game that she went in and played was against Ohio State. They're talking her up, and they're like, oh my God, we got this girl that was, 2021 was 11th in the country, and she went in and played, and I've got a picture of her blowing past 5 of the Ohio State's defenders and kicking a goal, and the goalie just tipped it with her finger, but her teammate was there and kicked it in for a goal.
Nice.
And all these girls were like, "You bitch," because all these seniors, she took over their spot coming in. So she was getting a lot of flack being 17, the new one, and she had no friends. And I'm like, you tell them that this is fucking Jordan rules. We're here to win championships. I'm not here to be your friend. If you want to be my friend, that's fine, but don't fucking rain on me.
Right.
And so she goes, that's hard to say when you're 17 against 22-year-olds. And I'm like, you just got to have that attitude, you know? But so anyways, she came back from Costa Rica, and I'm like, what are you doing? You going back next year to Notre Dame? She goes, nope. She's like, I'm done. And so France offered her a pro position, and she's playing at Saint somewhere, and she's playing in France, in Paris right now as a pro.
No way.
And so she most likely, from word that's out, she'll be on this year's 24 Olympic team for America. So,
wow.
And she's playing in Paris, and her sister's living with her over there doing grad school and stuff like that. And like, we got an apartment already and so they gave her a hotel, or not a hotel, but they gave her an apartment and an Audi to drive and stuff like that over there. So she's living it up. And then this other really awesome athlete. So like, I love taking care of these kids, dude, because that's like a highlight moment for me.
Hell yeah, it is.
So
because
like
if you wouldn't have been there, then nobody would have talked to her. She just assumed it's a stress factor.
Yeah. And so and then she came back to get an opinion. That was what was cool. So the another kid was Marshall Gerke. He was this little.
Why is that name? Why do I know?
So
that
he
name?
grew up on your street on Burton back in the day, and he lived right on the corner of Burton and School Street by the high school there. His dad's a cop, and mom's just stay-at-home mom, and they adopted this kid and as a baby, and he ended up being like, hey, let's get you involved in some sports. And he didn't like certain things, but he liked bike riding. So dad started taking him in to do BMX. And this kid has been, since he's a little kid, I've got a picture on my wall. Like, I've got, my whole office is about history or whatever. Well, I got his picture on my wall because I sponsored him one year. He's been number one all year long, and his birthday is like November 27th. Well, the national race that's in like Oklahoma for BMX, like the national championships, he's number one in the U.S. as at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, whatever racer, and his birthday is like November 27th. Well, the race is November 28th, so he has to go up class because of his age, and he always becomes number 2 the next year because he always loses because of his age, but he's number 1, and then he holds the number 2 plate the rest of the year. Well, BMX is an Olympic sport, and so this kid's 16. His parents and him moved to, they call him Major Gerke, but he is in Antioch, and he's like a couple sport athlete over there. He's a phenomenal kid, amazing athlete, super polite kid too, and he races for Answer, and he's doing all this X Games type of flipping and stuff like that on his bike. But he just got invited, him and a bunch of other U.S. BMXers and different stuff like that, just got invited. I can't say the name of it, but you know, the drink that gives you wings.
Yeah.
So they just invited him over there and paid for 10 days over in Paris for him to ride these couple of tracks that are over there. And I told his mom, I'm like, he might be on that United States BMX team that's right there. So they rode a couple of pump tracks and some freestyle tracks that were over there and stuff like that. And it was freaking amazing. I'm like, so that's 2 kids that we may have coming from this area, Grayslake area. Wildwood and Grayslake are just to be in this Olympics this next year.
It's amazing.
It's awesome.
It's absolutely amazing.
It is cool stories.
So how do you know that family then?
They came in to start getting adjustments, and then I started taking the care of the kid and stuff like that. He liked getting adjusted, and then when he started getting older, he's like, no, I think I'm good. So, but he still comes in to see me every now and then, but So it's pretty cool.
That's fantastic. Well, no,
Long stories, Dave.
so I want to talk about cars with you because
Okay.
because cars are like
Lord.
people have driven by here. There's a reason they have 3 garage doors here.
Yes.
I mean, and it's not for I need this place to have a snowplow.
Yeah.
Like that's not why you have this fucking place. Let's be honest, right? Okay, so you've had some. You're a fan of old cars, right?
I am a
And
fan
muscle
of
cars.
old cars, yes.
There's a picture on the wall behind me.
Yeah.
And that car, are we allowed to talk about that?
Yeah.
That frickin' car.
That was a creation that it never turned out the way I totally wanted it to be.
Which sucks. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It basically, I wanted a rat rod.
Yep.
And I wanted a car that was going to be like a front engine dragster with no radiator in front. And so we have a very talented guy named Craig Presnell, that's the rod smith that's in our area. And he is always like a starving artist in the work that he does, and it's amazing and stuff like that. And we sat down because he's very good friends with my brother, and I said, this is what I want to build. And so he found the car for me, and it was like going to be a...
He found the car?
Yeah. It was a 2-door sedan. It was a 1928 Ford 2-door sedan, and it was a really nice body, and I wanted it chopped, and I wanted it like 6 inches off the ground. I wanted a straight axle on the front, but I wanted this concept of being able to put... I didn't know how we were going to do it, but I wanted this concept of, maybe we were going to put this small, like, tiny little thing that was outside of the way of the motor, but we wanted to put this motor in, and I just wanted this rat rod car because I'm into that patina. I like the old stuff. I like the little 1950s like cruisers, the little Mexican blanket seats and open hoods, and I just want to cruise like that and just be like that. And like I got a 65 Buick, that's the hot rod type deal. It's
you still
cleaner.
have the 65
yeah,
Buick?
I still got that. But this car, he goes, I can build that. And then it took off. He goes, but just let me run with it because I want to kind of showcase like my talents off of, because he didn't do anything that was going to be on a national scale like
right.
this. And he built this amazing car, and he called it the Bare Metal Mistress.
Yeah, the Metal Mistress, yeah.
Yeah, because it was just all bare metal, and he sealed it and stuff, but you couldn't see his welds. You couldn't see where his chop marks were. And he did all this.
We'll post a picture of this, too.
Yeah, he built all the pipes, all the gussets, all the frame. He built a watertight frame, put the radiator in the back of this car, and then it got to be like, well, we got to do something more radical with this. So we got to put, like, my other friends talked me into putting this 409 motor in, but
that motor was ridiculous, dude.
Built by the legendary Jack Gibbs out of Willows, California, and we built that motor, and it was a 472 horsepower motor in a 1,400 pound car. And it was just a 2-seat thing. We put a roll cage in the back. It was an open wheel slick car in the back, and then just the radials in the front. So it was an all open wheel car, and it had custom built headers that were open headers on the side of this car. So like anytime you drove this thing, you were deaf.
I got to do videos radical. By that thing, and blew your mind.
Yeah, but it was
It's ridiculous.
I'm 5'11", and I'm 240, 230 pounds, depending on what time of the year I'm driving this thing. But it's a small car, and you're getting in there, and I'm like, I got to roll out of this car, and you got a 5-seat harness belt getting out of this thing, and the thing is like a drag car. Like, the only couple of times I got on this thing, it was like a sprint car at like Wilmot. Like, the steering wheel's going left and right. It's only got friction shocks on it. I'm like, whoa!
It was fast as hell, though, right?
Yeah, dude, and one other scary time I had in that car was here in this parking lot doing a burnout, just because we have car parties over here at the garage and stuff like that, and I'm over here and they were like, dude, take one of that things out and launch that thing up the hill. Well, Craig had built some like kill switches and stuff like that for just safety switches and stuff, and this thing has double pumpers on it, dual quads, and this thing is it's a beast. Well, anyways, I burn up the tires. Well, the thing gets so much traction. The way that he builds cars is so dialed in. Like even my brother's car, that 55 Chevy that he built.
Which people have probably seen that thing driving around. Yeah.
That car, it will blow up the tires a little bit, but then it just hooks. It just goes straight.
Right.
And it's because of Craig's.
He's told me how many stories about that, how he built
engineering and stuff like that. He just has an eye for it. But he built this car. This car had a burnout of only 18 inches long. It went completely sideways and then straight. It was a complete Z. I took off this hill up here off of my driveway. The problem with the dual quads that it had is that it had a real stiff spring on it for the throttle. The thing got stuck back because I had the thing pegged to the floor. And the thing wouldn't snap back. So the thing was on full bore flying up that hill, and it was throwing me back in the seat, and I had just enough with this 5-point harness on. I had just enough to get it at the middle of the driveway up here to hit the kill switch. I was going to go through the freaking house of the next door neighbors. The thing, and then they're like, "Holy shit, man, you fucking went crazy up that hill." And I'm like, I said, I almost went flying through that house because the car, I
Thank God for the kill switch
because the thing was stuck, the throttle was stuck on in full bore, and I was like, holy crap. So after that, I drove it.
You were scared to drive.
Well, yeah, because the car sometimes would get hot and different things like that, and it just was not a cruiser. My wife is going to kill me if I ever say that I'm going to build another car, but one day I will.
Right.
But
she likes you, though.
Yeah, she likes me. But I'll build another car, but it's just going to be a cruiser like that. So now my kids drive my cars.
Okay, so what do you have?
So I only have the 65 Buick. I sold that car 2 years ago now.
Right.
Some guy that wanted to buy it out of Kokomo, Indiana. Thank you for buying it if you're listening to this.
Yeah.
But it was a car that needed to go. I had my time with it.
It was fun because when you first talked about selling that, I was all excited, let's do some videos. We did some videos on his channel and we put some stuff out there. But that car was so ridiculous that was to a 0.1% market.
Yeah.
It wasn't you had a 55 Chev. If your brother wanted to sell his car, he'd be like.
Yeah, but that car launched Craig's career with building bare metal cars, and he's
totally did.
Sold his first bike off of that because it took him 9 months to build that car, which is ridiculous from start to finish.
He built that 9 months.
9 months.
I've known him for 12 years, and my Trans Am's still not done.
Yeah, well, because he started getting paid more.
Oh, sorry.
But
Craig, if you're listening, I love you, brother, but I want to get it done.
People it just was it became his metal mistress. That was his only girlfriend. That's the only thing that he saw, and that's why he called it.
And I think that's the last car that he built.
The last car he's ever built.
Yep.
Because then he did the motorcycle, and then...
Mine's half done in my garage, but the other ones went to the motorcycle. So.
Yeah, but I'm sure it's all quality.
Hey, and if you haven't listened to the Craig Rodsmith podcast, if you're listening to it now, seriously.
That guy is going to be famous one day.
One day.
But if he should be famous now. But
He's
Bobby
in 2
Haas
full movies.
bought this motorcycle from him for $75,000 at a show.
Well, we don't say how much, but yeah, well, I was standing right there.
That may have been a lie. Maybe it was for more. Maybe
could
it
have
was
been
for a little bit
60.
less.
It could have been 170.
But the whole point is that put him on Esquire TV. That put him on this bike build that somebody screwed up for him because they fucking tacked welded the light on the back bumper and screwed up the points.
And and I can tell you, when that TV show aired? It aired on September 27th, 2000. Well, I was in the hospital and I couldn't watch the show. I organized a party at the Vine when the show played, and when the show played, I was in the hospital because my baby was born.
Ooh.
But what year?
I don't know. You should know this. This your baby is born.
I don't know. I don't know which baby it is. Here. Yeah, I probably should know which child that was. But it was because Craig and I went down because that's when I obviously knew him.
Well, that's why one of the reasons why. Well, I think
no.
I had garage too.
Were we doing his videos then? I think we were doing his videos then.
Yeah, but I didn't have. Well, I sold the car, but I don't remember when he finished it. But he started building the bikes.
But then you held on to that car for a while.
And then he was at Mama Tried and different things, and he started getting popularity. And
So listen to the Rodsmith podcast because it's awesome. And actually, I have explicit lyrics video thing on there because I was like I had to put it on the cover because I think it was right after I had my eye surgery, and he started off the episode with, "Hey Dave, what the fuck's wrong with your eye?"
Oh, nice.
That's how he started it. John gives me compliments. He makes fun of my yeah. So it's nice to have good friends. All right, so let's wrap up.
But I want to say one thing.
Yeah, please.
For any young listeners that's out there.
Yes.
Like my son loves driving my cars and stuff like that, and so he goes, "Man, let's build another car." I'm like, "We're never gonna build another car." I said, because you're 8, when you get out of school, you're making enough money, you're paying your rent, you've got extra money, whatever you're gonna do, you want to go on trips, whatever you want to do. When you got a few extra dollars that you want, save it and build it up. And I said, you will be able to buy any old car you want to, because your age group and the kids like that are 20 years younger than I am, none of them want the cars that we have or what our dads had. No. So I'm like, you're going to be able to pick any vehicle you want. It's going to be a complete resto mod, and there's going to be $150,000 in that car, and you're going to buy it for $25,000.
Exactly.
And I'm like, you want any car, you can pick whatever you want, and you'll be able to mark your price.
Why would you buy a brand new car for $70,000 when if you went $70,000 and you wanted to buy a 70s muscle car right now, you could buy whatever the hell you want.
A 572 and be radical in touring and whatever. And as a kid, you're going to be like, holy cow. Like, and everybody's going to, and your friends are going to be like, dude, that's not that cool. Like, look at this.
Right. But when our kids are going to do that, when they're that age, what's going to be a classic car? Because there's no classic cars.
They're not. They're going to have the Nissan NRX, or I don't know what they are called.
Or a Fiero.
NSX or NS whatever.
Right. And that's going to be the old whatever, when the cars aren't anything like they're like.
I tried selling my car. My kid's like, you're not selling that car. I'm like, okay.
All right. Well, no, if he wants it. I have a 6-year-old that was like,
You got the Trans Am. You got the Bandit Trans Am.
Yeah,
you gotta get that fixed, Dave.
Yeah, really.
You gotta finish it up.
Make sure to
listen. There's other people that can work on that car.
Make sure to listen to the Rod Smith podcast. No, and I got guys. I got them in line. I got them. I'm on a budget. I need more. And this portion of the podcast is brought to you by
what?
Premier Chiropractic.
Anybody listening to this podcast and wants to help Dave out, call Chip Foose. And steal his car and just go get the thing finished.
Exactly. All right.
Do it.
Fine. And I'm going to do a GoFundMe. I'm going to have to start an OnlyFans page.
That's right.
And I think
you're working out for it.
I should. I'm not going to go into my OnlyFans.
I didn't even know what an OnlyFans page was.
Well, I'm going to start an OnlyFans page. So
my God.
I am, but I'll tell that story.
You got some nice toes. Are you just going to do a toe fetish thing, or what's the deal?
Anything about toes.
Fingernails?
This is so not a Discovering Grayslake podcast. This is Discovering John Bouma and Discovering Fourth Train Horn, the Dave Wool OnlyFans page. So make sure to subscribe on the OnlyFans page, sponsored by Premier Chiropractic.
No, it is not. It is not.
So we should have a fund to get my car going back again.
I just think somebody should call Chip Foose, because I think they would want to do this. Like, Smokey the Bandit is coming around. Its anniversary is going to be in 3 years.
Do you know how much more money that car is going to be worth?
Yeah, get it done. Well, they should do it on a show and be like, hey, man.
All right, so if anybody knows Chip, or anybody has any affiliation with Chip Foose.
Chip Foose is probably already dead, but.
So don't contact him. Maybe somebody else they can do it.
Some Monster Garage or something like that.
Right. No, just to redo my car.
Yeah.
Right. And it's all ready to go.
Yeah.
I mean, everything, but it's probably too much done. So much about chiropractic. So once again, we're going to wrap up. You said you wanted to say one more thing, and then I asked you about your cars. Yeah. Is there anything else anybody in Grayslake should know about John Bouma? I think the cool thing is that you've started an extremely successful business. But the one thing I know about you from knowing you from a long time is that you haven't changed. You're still the free spirit, loud, laughing, crazy, fun. But I think that has completely brought your business from, like, nobody wants to go in. They enjoy coming in with you. They get 10 minutes to talk to you, and you can have fun and laugh and tell stories, and it makes it more a comfortable experience. So if you haven't been to Premier Chiropractic, come and check out it, especially if you're having an issue or anything. I'm not doing this as an advertisement, but seriously, if people have problems and they're in pain and they don't do anything about it, and it's a small amount of money, and you you take insurance, obviously.
Yeah, we take insurance, but the cash price is low. So
Right.
And that's the thing too, is that times are getting hard. Don't be afraid to come in, because I'm not going to sell you on a treatment. You're gonna come in. I'm going to get you fixed as fast as possible, so it's not that expensive, and you're going to feel better. And it's not your routine type of chiropractor that comes from
Right.
franchise type places.
Right.
And
The biggest complaints I've heard from like a maybe I shouldn't mention
from
any
Premier
names,
Chiropractic Centers, or no?
no, not from here. I won't mention the complaints we have coming from here. But like chain chiropractic things that I've saw at bridal shows, at every home
One shoe
show,
fits
at every whatever. But the biggest complaint I always hear is like, I don't want to go to the chiropractor because he's like, oh, okay, come back. You need to come back X amount of times, or like, because when I've seen you, you're like, Dave, come back Wednesday, come back Friday, whatever. And usually the problem is either taken care of there or you're done. But most people think like, oh, this is a scam. Like, he wants me to come back. He's just making money off me. He wants to come back this many times. But it's not fixed in one adjustment.
No, if you've been more of a routine, then you can, if you've been an established patient, you can do that one and done type thing. But it'll be, if it took a few times to get there, then it's going to take a few times to get out of it. But my general rule is that if we can't, get you better within 6 to 8 visits or start seeing progress, then we're done. So.
Right. And once again, a lot of that lies on themselves if they're taking care of themselves,
right,
and doing what you want them to do, like, or get off your fat ass and walk a little bit, or like do something and exercise. I did not say fat ass right there, but if I were to,
it definitely wasn't me saying it.
Right, exactly, and you don't endorse me at all. So
I've endorsed you.
You've endorsed me a lot of times. You've been very kind. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up. Nothing else we need to know about John Bouma tonight. We have so many subjects we can go into. A couple that are deep, but we're gonna leave them alone.
Yes. Well.
And then maybe we'll come
back.
I
don't even know what you want to go in deep with about. We talking about old high school girlfriends, or?
No.
Oh, thank God.
We will not incriminate anybody about anything, because there's absolutely nothing to incriminate you about. Your wife is probably the luckiest woman alive.
I am the luckiest man alive to have her in my life. Let's just put it that way.
Boom. Shout out.
All right.
Where was your wedding reception at, by the way?
Our wedding reception?
Uh-huh.
So, didn't you DJ that?
Yeah, I did.
You don't remember this?
I remember exactly.
It was at the, we did two.
You did two.
So we did one at, I don't even remember the place. That was in like Skokie or Northbrook or
But
Martin
then your
Grove
little
or
party
like
you did was at...
It was in Heather Ridge. And that was because my dad's girlfriend at the time, that she had a place that was over there, and we rented that. Yeah. And that was a cool party. That was a 6-keg party with Hawaiian type theme, and
I think
Sam's Club food, and got it all cooked up, and people served it, and we had a good time as friends.
Just a party.
That's the best type of wedding reception that's there.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
And I think when I start a different kind of podcast, we're going to come back and we're going to have Eric Gunther sit next to you, and then we're going to have a different one.
That's going to definitely be edited, but it just might be saved for the vault for later when we get older.
Right. We'll call that a legacy recording.
Yes.
That's just so
when we're dead and nobody's going to be responsible for the content that was there and how it's going to hurt them, then we'll talk about that.
Our children will have to do it with their grandchildren, but other than that, it's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for for listening to the, this is going to be the part 2 episode, so I'm going to, at the end here, thank you for listening so much. Make sure if you're listening, no matter where you're listening, whether you're listening on Spotify, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts and YouTube, wherever, make sure to hit the subscribe button so every week when we have a new guest from Grayslake, you're going to get notified. And please remember, especially, I encourage you to listen to the people that you don't know, because there's so many interesting people in Grayslake and I think John will agree with me here, that there's so many people that they may not know. Like, we're going to interview a couple guys. We have Dr. Griff coming up, and
Dr. Griff's cool.
I know, and if you don't know him, you're never going to know about him. If you see it pop up and you don't know him, you don't listen. Listen.
But those are some of the greatest things, though, too. You might think that you've known somebody,
but
and then you don't really know them.
And some of the greatest things we've had on here are people like, holy shit, I just listened to John's podcast, but I never knew that about him.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So, well, now...
And that's still...
We're going to find out the
version of it all.
Right.
Yeah. Buy me a drink, you'll find more out.
Right. So make sure if you're listening to this podcast on John, When you come in to get adjusted, make sure that you mention it to him because you'll get a 0% discount, and he'll make sure and he'll take care of you. So, Grayslake, thank you so much for listening to Discovering Grayslake, and we will see you next Tuesday.
All right. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, buddy.